Welcome to Fleet News Group podcast, where we talk about all things fleet and particularly things to do with sustainable fleets. I'm Caroline Falls, and today I'm talking with Daniel Petrovski, Head of Product Strategy at Hino Australia. Welcome to our podcast, Daniel.
Thank you, Caroline. It's great to be here.
Now, you are a very passionate advocate for Hino. You helped develop and design the 4x4 300 series truck a few years back, introducing it to Australia. And I note it was written at the time somewhere that if a man could give birth to a truck, it would be Daniel Petrovski. I hope you don't mind me invoking that saying. But tell us about that project and what it meant for Australian truck buyers.
Yeah, so that was a project that was really important for our customers and our dealers in terms of those customers needing a solution to their off-road requirements. So customers like CFA, Country Fire Authority in Victoria, New South Wales RFS, a lot of mining customers, they're already using our GT 13.5 tonne GVM truck at that time, but they needed a smaller vehicle. So we worked with Japan over 10 years and developed a Australian specific solution for that small off-road market.
And did that vehicle sort of make it into any other jurisdictions around the world, like South Africa would be a compatible?
Hasn't made it to South Africa as yet, but there's certainly plans in our global plan for that product to go to places like South Africa, Malaysia, Indonesia. They have a version in Indonesia, but the vehicle as it stands for the Australian market is purely sold in Australia and New Zealand only.
And what role did you have in like the development or the design of that?
Yeah, I was involved basically from concept to delivery, sitting with the engineers in Japan, working out what we needed in terms of specifications, then looking at what components we had in the Hino parts bin that we could put together and create a vehicle that was suitable for the market. And that went through then to first prototypes, field test vehicles, the running of that field test program, which went over 3 years in Australia. We had a number of vehicles in the Australian market we've seeded with customers, and then the ultimate delivery of that vehicle to market.
Cool. I should say we're in Adelaide at the moment, and later today we are going to get, there's a bunch of journalists here, and we're going to get a briefing from your CEO about 2024. But I just wonder, 2023 is drawing to a close, and I've got you here with me now. And so I'm just, thinking about what's in store for 2024. So I'm hoping that even preempting the briefing later this morning, if you can give us a heads up of what to expect from Hino in the next 12 months.
What I can talk about is the product side of the next 12 to 24 months, and what we're going to see during 2024 is a real focus on our hybrid products in the 300 series range. They've gone through a massive increase in orders, 440% increase in the order bank. Sales have increased from an average of 50 a year to we have orders of over 350 in the bank at the moment. We're trying to deliver those. So it's hard to ramp up there, but we have looked at that market. We've seen what our customers want. Most customers are now interested in a more sustainable solution. We have what would be the best sustainable solution in terms of low emissions, that's usable, there's no range limitations, customers can use it in any type of application. So the interest in EV has brought a lot of those customers in to look at those alternative solutions. When they look at a battery EV, it's not ready yet for market in terms of it doesn't do everything that they need to do. So we are with the hybrid, with that diesel electric hybrid, we then have a solution that they can just take off the shelf and put into an application and reduce their emissions. That's a big area that we're going to focus. We're also going to shift some of our focus from the larger 500 series into our new 700 series, which is a Euro 6, has more safety, more comfort. So we'll be transitioning, and helping our customers fit that 700 series in place of where those larger 500 series used to be put into.
And the 700 comes with that Hino Connect
Hino connectors
fitted into it, yeah.
So that's a benefit for our customers that go to the 700 series. They get that Hino Connect for a year. They get to understand the benefits for their business and monitoring the vehicle and improving their efficiency, which you improve your efficiency and usability of that vehicle. That leads to better profits for those customers.
Back to the 300, you were talking about like orders just, double, quadrupling or whatever, like eightfold, I think you said. Were they Australian numbers or they're just purely Australian numbers?
Purely looking at the Australian market and what our customers are buying. And
yes, I'm really interested in like where is that demand coming from? Like our fleet buyers, putting sustainability caps on seriously these days. Like what's driving it?
Primarily fleet buyers. Primarily fleet buyers who have been talking to our dealers about battery EV. A lot of our dealers have a battery EV alternative. Now, when the customer sits down with the dealer and they go through the pros and cons of vehicle types, the hybrid seems to suit all their requirements. So there was a time where it was easy to just put a diesel into any application, but now customers are actually looking at, all right, what is my fuel consumption on these small trucks? As an example, before fuel hit $2 a litre, not many fleet owners were looking at their light duty fuel consumption. Now it's a bit more of a focus because you're paying twice as much for the fuel that you're putting in per litre. You want to reduce that consumption and increase your profitability. So hybrid's a great solution.
And do you have any numbers on sort of like what sort of fuel savings they get or total cost of ownership, like how long it takes compared to a traditional vehicle to make it all make sense?
Yes, we've done a lot of trials over the past 12 months. We had the anecdotal evidence, but we wanted to prove for ourselves that, okay, this is going to make a difference to our customers' businesses. And we've seen savings from anywhere from 10-12% fuel on highway type operations, which is quite dramatic when you consider that highway type light duty operations use a lot of fuel, so 10% reduction on that is immense. Through to 29% fuel savings in some CBD metro type applications, which again, that 29%, or even we average it to 20%, that 20% fuel saving is also a 20% reduction in CO2 directly. So yeah, we see about the 20%. That equates to 3 to 4 years return on investment, based if you purchased your vehicle outright. As we know, most customers are not purchasing the vehicle outright. They're taking a type of lease or they've got finance on the vehicle. Now, if we look at that monthly cost of a vehicle and we look at all the operating costs from the first month with your reduced fuel consumption and, of course, your reduced fuel bill, you're in front from that first month in total operation costs. So from month one with a hybrid, we can reduce that company's operating costs for that vehicle. And this is the big change, and presenting it to customers to show them and to sit down with them, go through step by step what they do. And it is we do need to spend the time to do this and to do the business case. But when we can go through and show them step by step what their costs are, what hybrid could do for them, that's where it becomes a real benefit and they can see the advantages.
And so the greater cost saving in an urban environment or a last mile delivery sort of application, is because of the regenerative, didn't say that word very well, but the regenerative braking. That
Correct.
So it's a great application for this.
So a electric diesel hybrid, we're not plugging that in to create the energy. It creates energy from the regenerative braking, which is basically a gathering of kinetic energy. And how we explain it, that creation, rather than use the foot brake and the disc brakes slowing the vehicle down, creating heat which dissipates into the atmosphere, we use the electric motor slash generator, which slows the vehicle down, creates electricity. That goes into the battery, and then under the next acceleration, we use that electrical energy rather than just diesel fuel to help move the vehicle forward, and hence having that moment or kinetic energy that when we need to slow down again, we grab it back. So a hybrid's really like a giant recycling vehicle, in we're recycling the energy that's originally come from the diesel fuel through the chemical energy of the diesel fuel, but we're not wasting it through that heat transfer of brakes. So that's the magic of the hybrid system.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of us tend to think that the hybrid's just a temporary solution until we get from traditional to fully, either fully electric or hydrogen fuel cell or whatever, is in the future. But the way we're talking about it now, it seems to build a case that the hybrid could be here for a very, very long time because...
That's 100% true. So
Yeah.
hybrid will expand in its operation, not just from a Hino perspective. We know that some of our fellow manufacturers are also developing their hybrid solutions, and that's down to what commercial vehicles do. Very different to the passenger car market, where those vehicles are used and you can make a plan around how you'll use it, and you might be doing 100 kilometres a day or 200 maximum. A commercial vehicle needs to operate for potentially 12 hours a day, and it needs to, at times, there's applications like fire or emergency services, remote rescue vehicles, forestry. Those guys can't rely on battery EV. Fuel cell is probably not a solution for applications like rural fire brigades. So we know that those customers are going to have a requirement for diesel fuel, whether that's fossil fuel or synthetic type fuels or man-made
Biodiesel.
alternatives. Yeah, but that internal combustion engine will be required, and even if it's a hydrogen internal combustion engine, having the hybrid component on there just means that you get more bang for your buck no matter what that fuel source. So hybrid makes sense. It's just about, I suppose, reducing those initial manufacturing costs, spreading the awareness about the solution and how it works and how it doesn't interfere with your normal day-to-day operation, and that'll see hybrid expand right out across many applications and sizes of vehicles.
Okay, you raise some really great points there. I just wanted to go back on one thing, and that is supply. So you said that, these orders for, say, the 300 series of, really blown out. What about supply? Like, what is a waiting time?
They're currently sitting at about 6 months, which, considering the current supply chain and supply of vehicles, is actually quite a quick timing. Some of our models have been out to 12, 18 months. So hybrids we have been able to supply. We're also working with Hino Japan on ensuring that 2024 we get more allocation of hybrid components, and we're predicting them increase again for those hybrid orders.
Just talking, you were alluding to, the difference between car purchases and truck purchases, and you know, like truck buyers are very specific, very focused. Compared with a car buyer, they're not going to be swayed by, you know, some shiny this or, you know, some sweet sounding that. They're looking for a vehicle to perform a specific task. And how do you like meet the needs of various demands, and are they getting more specific and demanding? I guess the question is, how have truck buyers' demands changed over time? And have you had to make your offering more flexible? That sort of thing.
We've been, I would say, quite lucky with the Hino brand and our customers. The way that the majority of our customers will buy a vehicle, payload is the number one item. They need let's, as an example, say a 3-tonner. So they need a vehicle that will carry 3 ton. And that their next buying decision comes down to they want a 2-pedal transmission. A conventional automatic is the preference because they can put anyone in and drive it. And then it comes down to power and operating costs and reliability. It's going to get very, very complicated for operators and salespeople over the next 10 to 25 years. The various solutions, whether they be a diesel electric hybrid, a battery electric vehicle, or a fuel cell electric vehicle, will be dependent on where the customer is operating, what their range is they have to cover, what are the refueling infrastructures around their operation area. These will all come into a play of which solution the customer chooses to do his transport in the next 25 years. And we know diesel, we can fill up anywhere. So a 3-ton capable truck, you can put into any fleet and it'll do the job. A hybrid electric, it's the same. There's coverage everywhere. You refuel with diesel and you can carry that 3-ton. A battery electric vehicle, we're then talking about range limitations or operational time limitations where a customer will need to plan, what is this battery electric truck doing? CBD operation, metro, 100 kilometres, 200 kilometres, it's going to be great for those applications. But a customer who has to maybe once or twice a week go from Sydney to Orange or Bathurst or down to Canberra and back, a battery EV won't be the suitable solution for them in that application. They may need to implement the hybrid electric or a fuel cell electric. And that vehicle would need to have coverage for refueling as well. So there'll be no point using a fuel cell vehicle and send that to Burke if there's no refueling for that vehicle in Burke. But we might be able to send that vehicle down the Hume Highway because hydrogen highway plans, there will be refueling stations there. So as the infrastructure builds in, then these different solutions will be able to be used right across the range. But it's just working out which solution is going to go where and be used for which operation. And that's going to be the thing that's not clear over the next 10 to 25 years. But we plan to spend a lot of time with our salespeople and educating them on what's available, how it's to be used, and also with our customers in making sure they're aware what we have available over the next decade plus and what are going to be solutions that they're able to use.
Just thinking about payload and we all know that battery technology is, developing apace. So don't know what they're going to look like even in a decade. But for now, with the 300, say the hybrid solution, I'm just wondering how much of a trade-off do you have to make with the payload,
Weight-wise.
weight-wise, of carrying
So
both engines?
today we're about just over 200 kilograms for the hybrid components and the battery. Now, if we use a comparison on diesel trucks, we have a 4 litre and a 5 litre, and many of our competitors also have those type of variables where they may have a 3 litre and a 5 litre. Now, we can sell those smaller engined vehicles or the 5 litre equivalents. Many customers choose those 5 litre equivalents, which are that 2 to 250 kilograms heavier. So when we're talking about this 3-ton payload area, the 200 kilograms isn't as much as the larger engine vehicles. So yeah, the impact on payload in the above car license market doesn't have much of an impact on there. When we look at car license, that 4.5 ton GVM, that's where things get, I suppose, a little tighter in the payload. But again, some of the largest selling light truck vehicles, the passenger car license, are that 5 litre heavier vehicle. And the hybrid comes in weighing less than those 5 litre models. So payload wise, yeah, it does the job.
Interesting. I'll just change the subject a little bit here because I visited Hino's sort of headquarters in Australia at Caringbah, I think it was, several years back. But I got a tour of the spare parts facility, and I know it's expanded and shifted location now to Western Sydney. I haven't been there, but I'm sure you've still got the same sort of philosophy, and that was that you carried parts that were very large, like the whole front part of a truck, or new rear door, or front or back bumpers, because a lot of accidents, might just be sort of a small rear end or something, but it could put a truck off the road. And if the philosophy was that if that truck fleet owner had to wait for that part to come in from Japan, they might, because of their own business operations and demands, be forced to go and buy some alternative make. And so, almost in a way to keep your fleet buyers happy, you kept all of these really quite large parts available at, in it for a 1 day sort of just in case, I guess it is sort of philosophy. Anyway, I just wondered if you wanted to talk about your spare parts philosophy and facility a bit.
Yeah, I won't go too deep into it, not being my area, but what I can tell you is that we have moved our parts warehouse, yes, to that brand new facility. That facility is quite large, and we even have room to expand within that facility. A big part of the reason is that we were getting up to the capacity of that old warehouse, and yeah, having components there on the shelf is very important. One example is our cabins. We keep complete cabs there ready for customers when they do have unfortunate incidents where it would take longer to fix the vehicle and put a new cab on it. We've more than doubled the number of cabs that we keep. So that's one example of the different components, the biggest being a cab, where we've been able to increase our holding, which means that we have more variations, more cabs there if something happens, and our customers can get their vehicle back on the road quicker.
Daniel, you've been at Hino a long time. I don't know exactly how long, so you might tell me that. And I'd just like to know sort of what you do on a day-to-day basis and what you love about your job.
Yeah, good question. Haven't thought about that for a long time, but over 17 years now with Hino. It's been, my role in particular is very rewarding because I am looking at what we're doing today but also what we're doing next year, the next 5 years, and sometimes out 10 plus years in terms of the fuels solutions that we're going to be implementing, and what are those various movements that we're forecasting in the market, working with Japan and ensuring that they're up to date and understand what's happening in this market, and how do we really transfer the knowledge that we're gathering in this market into the engineers in Japan. That involves many face-to-face meetings with our Japanese counterparts, whether they be the product planning strategy guys, the engineers, their marketing people. That work never stops and is probably a full-time job in its own. Combine that with everything we do with the Truck Industry Council here in Australia to work with the local legislators to keep up to date on what's happening. So the Truck Industry Council, we meet every quarter with the other manufacturers. We make sure we're all aware of what the government wants us to do, where we're planning to go. So that is actually the core of what I'm doing day to day, combined with then putting the product plans in place with Hino Japan. So make sure we've got the right solutions and can get hold of the right solutions from our manufacturer in Japan. We understand what our customers require and make those changes. So a good example of that is by the end of next year, we'll probably be at least 90 to 95% of the vehicles we sell will be two-pedal only. So we'll make a number of model changes over the next 12 months where our manuals will be phased out. And that just comes down to the market. We need vehicles that are easy to drive. Hino are the only Japanese manufacturer, who have from car license right through to 360 horsepower with a true automatic transmission. That's a massive strength for our brand, and we're going to increase the focus on that part of our product range because that's what the customers want. So ensuring Japan know, hey, this is the direction we're going because this is what our customers want. And that's could be over 12 months, 24, 5 years. That's the short version of what we do day to day.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, Daniel. You're not only an asset to Hino, you're an asset to the Australian truck and fleet industry. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Caroline. It's been a pleasure.
You've been listening to Fleet News Group podcast. It was edited and produced by Isabella Fiorentino. You can follow us on Spotify. Just search for Fleet News Group. We're also on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. Our website is fleetnewsgroup.com, where you can get all of our stories, videos and podcasts. Until next time, drive safely and take care.